Hello everyone, Mege here. The Warden rework has been out for quite some days now, and I decided to make this video to share my opinions and thought of it. Before we begin, let me say a couple things. First, in this video I'm going to assume you know already what the Warden's rework is about, what has been changed about Warden in the recent Season 7 patch. In case you don't know, you can go check the patch notes yourself on Ubisoft site or somewhere in Google, it's pretty easy to find them. Or just look up a video here on YouTube, I'm sure you could find something pretty easily. Secondly, I do believe Warden really needed a rework. So I've seen around some people say that Warden didn't need a rework, that he was fine as he was, that he was OP as he was, even though he hasn't won a single tournament in forever. And to that I want to say that I really think Warden needed a rework. It was pretty bad before. He has some big flaw in his design, like how you could roll out of his mix-up completely, how you could back dodge out of his mix-up completely. That was pretty silly, and overall his neutral really boiled down to the very fundamentals of the game with very few tools of his own. But anyway, a lot of people do make the claim that Warden's rework mean that Ubisoft hasn't been working on, for example, Shugoki or Lawbringer's rework. I find that pretty silly, honestly. I believe that Ubisoft is working on all reworks, of course, but I also do believe that some reworks are easier to do than others. So for example, Shugoki. I personally have no idea how you could ever rework Shugoki into a playable, like competitive and fun hero. His design is so fundamentally flawed that me personally, I have no idea what you could do to him. Of course, I don't play Shugoki. But what I'm trying to say is that some heroes are harder to, rework. For example, Lawbringer 2, honestly, how do you go around show and block? Do you just remove it? Do you remove such a, a part of Lawbringer? I don't know. But, just don't go around saying that Warden rework means that they're not working something else. Honestly, that sounds a little silly. My last point is about Warden placement. I believe Warden right now in duels is very, very good. I believe he's S tier. I will eventually make a proper tier list, another tier list after my first one. Will take some time, of course. I also think I have not enough experience in brawls, but in 4v4s I would say is pretty solid, probably A tier. What I mean with this is that I don't want to sound biased. I mean, I know Warden is my hero, but I also recognize he's one of the best heroes in duels right now. So let's get to the meat of it. How does Warden play right now? So Vortex is sort of gone. It's not like you cannot do it anymore, you can just hard feint into guard break, but overall the bigger stamina cost on cancels and whiff of shoulder bash, although that's supposed to be a bug, that's a little side note, whiffing shoulder bash applies a bigger stamina penalty than it's supposed to on Warden. So the overall stamina costs increase, the nerf damage on double sidelights from 24 to 18. And overall the bigger recovery on shoulder bash, meaning most opponents can easily guard break you if you whiff your shoulder bash, granting them, I don't know, for example, let's pick Warden for an example. You are shoulder bashing, I'm talking about uncharged shoulder bash here. Shoulder bashing for 18 damage, if they dodge it, if they guess correctly, even though I don't like the word guess, some people use, I would say if they read you correctly, if they adapt to your patterns correctly, but whatever, it's a guess ultimately. If they do, they get a guard break for, I don't know, in case of Warden, 30 damage, guard break wall splat, 40 damage, guard break ledge, guard break spikes, an instant kill. So, of course, you would see why in general Wardens are not really going for uncharged shoulder bash match. It's sort of risky, stamina intensive, doesn't grant that much damage. On the other hand, what you are seeing right now for Warden in high level is a lot of charged shoulder bash, and let's see first why is that. For starters, max charged shoulder bash deals 40 damage with a top heavy guaranteed instead of double sidelights. That's a pretty big increase, that's more than double of, the damage from double sidelights to top heavy, 40 against 18. It also has armor. It's not super important, but having armor, being, one of the common answer to Warden's mix-up, could be to eat him out of shoulder bash charging. So having armor can sometimes allow you to, trade and actually hit the opponent with 40 damage. And it's pretty rare that the trade would be unfavorable, I mean, what move does 40 damage and is fast enough to use to stop Warden's shoulder bash? I don't think there's any. Also, although this is most likely a bug and hopefully will get fixed, Sometimes when you fully charge Shoulder Bash, the opponent guesses correctly and dodges at the last moment. You bolt past him, and you will be out of guard break range. So the opponent, even though he guessed correctly again, he will not be able to get a guard break punish on you. And that seems pretty, unreasonable. You are having a bash dealing 40 damage, and I think the opponent should get a proper punish for dodging that. Now, to the biggest part of why Charged Bash is so good and so used right now is the new feint mechanic of it. So you can basically feint Shoulder Bash, I talked about this in the guide, at any time before leaving the ground and actually, bashing forward. You can actually feint it 100 milliseconds after you have released the guard break, the Shoulder Bash button. So you have 100 milliseconds after releasing it to press the feint button. And of course that's done both through, ease the input, because if you had to do it instantly, like on a Xbox controller, which I think I can show you here, alright, you have to go from, this button to this button instantly, and it can be pretty hard on the thumb, yeah, like to do this pretty quickly. It's not as close as this, right? So with that, I think it's necessary. But it does cause some weird interactions, For example, Shoulder Bash, you will see Warden after feinting it. He will still maybe slightly move forward. So, if you hard feint immediately, Warden will just go from edge to, sorry, this is not a good representation, edge to neutral. And sometimes if you do it, like if you feint it as late as you can, Warden will actually, move forward a little and then stop, go back to neutral. And that's very easily to bait reactions with, because the opponent actually see you moving. And how can you react to that? You cannot. So how does this make Shoulder Bash so good? Charged Shoulder Bash so good? So to simplify this, I'm gonna have the two scenarios where, Warden is charging Shoulder Bash, okay, enters Shoulder Bash and hold down the charge. And the opponent mainly has two answers. The first one is dodging early, and that's a mistake, because maybe, I don't know, he's afraid of a regular Shoulder Bash, or I don't know, he's being conditioned, whatever. So the opponent makes a mistake, Warden can react to this, keep holding down the Shoulder Bash button, release it, catch the opponent, top heavy, 40 damage. Makes sense, the opponent made a mistake, Warden made the correct call. On the other hand, what happens is, Warden charges Shoulder Bash, the opponent expects the charged Shoulder Bash, so they will just stand still and eventually just dodge on the late feint, on the max charge Shoulder Bash timing, so they stand still. But when the Warden sees this, and this is the catch, the Warden, you see the opponent standing still while you are charging Shoulder Bash, so they haven't took the bait, they haven't fell for it, so you can just, you can just feint it, and that's it. You're back to neutral, you are safe, no bad call for you. And this is controversial, okay, in my opinion. This is both good and bad. So the bad part, of course, is that you have a very safe bash dealing 40 damage, which tracks dodges very well, even tracks some rolls with hyper armor, and it's overall it's a very good move, which you can actually feint if it doesn't go your way. You can react to your opponent doing the wrong thing and actually, dealing 40 damage to him. But is it bad? In a way, it does promote aggression, it does promote the Warden going into Shoulder Bash, so should he be punished for it? Honestly, I don't think, this is just my little opinion, I don't want to make this video into my suggested changes for this rework. No, but honestly, I think maybe making it, granting a side heavy instead of a top heavy, 30 damage instead of 40, would be a much better option than having it not being feintable after a while, because that would screw with some other mechanics, it would have a bigger effect overall on Warden's gameplay, I would think. And something that I also like about it is how it kind of, encourages the opponent, kind of forces the opponent to engage with the Warden. You cannot just, wait for the Warden to do his thing, because you will not get anywhere. Warden just charges Shoulder Bash. Even if you dodge, if you get 40 damage, if you don't get anything for being passive here, okay? Anything on the Warden, I mean any damage on the Warden. You have to actively attack the Warden, pressure him, don't let him get into Shoulder Bash, attack him while he's charging. The armor is actually very, very late into the animation. It's very easy to interrupt him out of it. Of course, then the Warden can expect it, feint, and parry, but that's another lot of mind games which are interactive here. It's not just, waiting for the Warden. I find that very interesting, and that's why I think it's fine the way it is. But of course, I believe one of the other intended changes of the rework, which kind of failed to deliver, was to make Warden more about swordsmanship at least a bit. I mean, we all know Shoulder Bash is part of Warden, is his core identity, so it's never going away. That's what Warden is, and I'm personally fine with it. But I would also like Warden to be a little more about swordsmanship and a little less about shouldership or something like that. I know that's not a word. So Ubisoft answer to this in the rework was more ways to get into heavy chains and better heavy chains. So the zone into heavy, it's brilliant, it's great, and it's very good, especially in 4v4s. By the way, when you're getting ganked, you throwing a zone with a big wide hitbox, then go into another a side heavy, for example, which is 40 damage hitbox flying, you know, is nothing to laugh at, and leaves you with very little Garbreak vulnerability in between. It's very good when getting ganked. If you have revenge, you don't even care about stamina. But beside that, so we have this zone into heavy, great. Rushing slash into heavy, little less used, but still great. And then we have the top unblockable, which supposedly would allow Warden, you know, to have another unblockable, which doesn't rely on Shoulder Bash. And on paper, it's great, I love it. And sadly, it doesn't work, it's too reactable. Now, I know I phrased this poorly in my guide from the other day. It's not that the top unblockable feint window is too early. Actually, all unblockables have the same feint window of, I can't remember how much, but X milliseconds before impact. That's the same for all unblockables. It's the same for Raider's Zone, it's the same for Shaman unblockable, and Warden's unblockable too. Can say top unblockable, all of that. So why is Warden's unblockable bad? Well, it's two factors mainly. First, the animation is very clear. It's very easy to see because he feints when he's still like this, alright? So you know he still has all of this to do and then go down. So if you even see this movement, you know you can parry already. So for example, with Shaman it's a little more subtle. The move is a little faster too, so that helps, of course. The other thing is soft feints. You know, Kensei's top unblockable. Think if Kensei top unblockable had to unblockable hard feint sidelight. That would be bad. Or Raider unblockable, for example, is still kind of bad because, you know, what makes it fairly good, I'm not saying Raider's unblockable is good, it's actually reactable as well. But the soft feint into stunning tap is actually something, you know, it makes it viable as a mix-up. Same way as Kensei's top unblockable can soft feint into pretty much anything, into dash Garbreak, for example. Now, in the patch notes, there was something about a soft feint from the top unblockable, we are talking about Warden, top unblockable into Shoulder Bash, some sort of soft feint from that. It wasn't implemented into the game, so maybe it was an early build, will it be implemented, we don't know. But I think that would make the top unblockable actually more usable, and I think it would fit Warden. So besides the top unblockable, Warden also got Valiant Breakthrough, the dash heavy, amazing move honestly both thematically, as Warden, you know, is a vanguard, you expect Warden to charge, we've seen him charging in trailers, so it works thematically, and it's also great gameplay wise, because Warden really needed something to close the gap like that, and beat rolls finally. So to round it all up, Warden right now plays a lot around charged Shoulder Bash. Charge, feint if they don't dodge, release if they do, 40 damage. Kind of forcing the opponent to engage in some more aggressive gameplay, which I like personally. I think with a charged bash so good, 30 damage from a side heavy would be more appropriate, but that's me. Top unblockable, while not bad in 4v4, is sadly pretty useless in 1v1, you don't see that often. So right now, overall, I'm satisfied with the rework. I'm very happy that Warden is finally a very good hero, very fucking good hero. One of the best in 1v1, honestly, I think. With his bash mechanics, it's really scary to face. At the same time, I wish his swordsmanship was a little more accentuated and not just shoulder bash, charges shoulder bash being so good. So I know I said I didn't want this to be a suggested changes video, but still what I would do honestly, and this is early, okay? We're just a week into the rework, of course this is early, but what I would like to see right now done to Warden to just tweak him a little, it would be increase side light damage to 20 from 18. I feel like 18 is still too little for 2 lights, it went down from 24 with the rework. Speed up, change side lights to 500 instead of 600, I have no reason why that's even a thing, honestly. Maybe increase chain top light speed to 400 from 500. I know that's sort of a weird line with 400 milliseconds attacks, but I think this was tested internally, as we've seen from the leaked patch notes. So maybe it didn't work, I don't know, but I feel like it would push him towards a more swordsmanship style. You know, you have one more reason to use your top light instead of shoulder bash. Somehow fix the top unblockable, either with a soft feint, animation change, although that's unlikely, that's just theory crafting honestly. But do something about top unblockable in 1v1s, because as of now, while cool on paper, it's sadly bad. And I think that's it. Now, I know you might think, what the fuck are you thinking, Mege? Are you crazy? Do you want to buff him even further while he's one of the best heroes, as you just said? No, I don't want this. I think I would like to shift like power from Charged Shoulder Bash to this. Like, honestly, if Charged Shoulder Bash wasn't so strong, like, the main reason Warden is S tier, in my opinion, is because of the Charged Shoulder Bash feint. Of course, the dash heavy is very good, but that alone doesn't make him, you know, top tier. So if we nerf Charged Shoulder Bash somehow by making it maybe 30 damage, I don't know. I feel like these other changes could, you know, sort of balance him out, make him use both of his mix-ups, the unblockable and the shoulder bash. Honestly, I find it very interesting to think of Warden, you know, flowing between mix-ups. I don't know, going shoulder bash, double light, charged shoulder bash. Of course, this is without stamina in mind. So let's say charged shoulder bash hits top heavy into unblockable, top heavy mix-up into shoulder bash mix-up. So sorry, shoulder bash soft feint. I think that would flow pretty well. That would be pretty interesting. So that's my opinion on the Warden rework. Warden is very good right now. Go give it a try and check my guide for tips on him. Shameless self-promoting. I'm gonna leave you to this 4v4 gameplay. It's actually pretty cool. I think you should check it out. Hope you all have a good day, and I'm gonna see you all next time.
You captured Zone A.